Guys, today's video is about a weird part of my life that I completely forgot. I think I've brought it up before, in passing, and people were like, wait, what? So I thought I would do an actual video about it because I realised I haven't really spoken about it that much, and that is that I used to own a narrowboat. I used to own a boat, which sounds really privileged. And it sounds a lot more I want to say like spoiled than it is. Like I'm a spoiled person, you know. Or like a rich kid. No. um Basically what it is it's not that I'm like ridiculously well off or anything like that. It's just that in one of my previous relationships, my boyfriend at the time, I think, was going through like a midlife crisis. If I'm honest, looking back, I think that's what it was. And he decided that his new life dream was to live on a narrowboat. And I, being the kind of person that I am, and especially the type of girlfriend that I am, I was like, cool, okay, that's my life goal too. Like now, I'll just adapt to that. And yeah, we decided to save up our money and buy one together. Um, it was going to be really fun. I did kind of warm up to the idea, even though I can't swim, so it was never on my bucket list before to own a boat. But yeah, uh, I think we owned it for like, I want to say like 2 years. We were together for 5 years, so I'm pretty sure we had it for at least 2 years, maybe even 3 years. Wow. Because we had it for a little while after we broke up as well. Because we struggled to sell it once we broke up. But yeah, it was a 52-foot narrowboat, or canal boat, as some people might call it. And yeah, it was really cool. We struggled for a little while to find one within our price range because we didn't have a lot of money, even though we both ended up. Well, I took out a loan for my part of it, to be honest. We went halves on it. I think it ended up being 12 grand, I want to say. I'm pretty sure we spent about 12 grand on it. But it was literally just a shell when we bought it. Like, it didn't even have floorboards down. I don't know what we were thinking, if I'm completely honest. But yeah, it didn't even have floorboards down. There was a lot of work that needed doing to it. We bought it from this family, where it was a husband and a wife, and they just had a kid. So they were like, "Oh, our dream of living on a narrowboat isn't really, it's not really going to happen now because we've had a child." So yeah, they sold it to us. And it took us so long to get it from where we bought it from because we bought it from Northampton. Um, and we couldn't afford to get it lifted out of the water by crane and brought to where we lived. So my partner had to literally drive it all the way back. And it was a long way, especially on a narrowboat, because they go really slow. I think their top speed is like 15 miles an hour. they're not very fast. And obviously you have to go through all of the locks, which are the big gates that they put down, through different systems. And it was just really difficult, and we decided to buy it in the winter because that's a good idea. So it was frozen in for months when we bought it. We couldn't even move it. It was just stuck in Northampton. Um, and yeah, eventually it thawed out, thankfully, and we managed to start driving it down. It took well over 10 days. It was like over weeks that we did this because he had to drive it. It was several hours at a time, and then leave it somewhere, and then I'd have to go and pick him up in my car and bring him home, and then he'd go and do it again. But obviously, there's nothing in there. There wasn't floorboards. There was no working toilet. There was nothing in there. We had to build it from scratch. So driving it back was a bit of a nightmare. I only joined the last segment because I was working. Um, the last, like, I want to say like 5 miles, which is still a long time to be on a narrowboat with nothing on it. And yeah, it was really difficult, and we managed to get it to where we were having it moored, which wasn't exactly local, but it was the only place that would let us moor it long term. Like, their rules were that you had to leave for 2 weeks in a year, even if you just went downstream, like out of where they were. It was like, okay, most places were like that though. It wasn't really policed. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you stayed somewhere for longer than you were supposed to, like, who's going to tell you off? Like, there was no river police. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't exactly an issue. Um, but yeah, so we had it moored there, and we'd drive down, which was like over an hour's car drive to get there, to work on it. And it was a bit of a nightmare because we had no money. We couldn't live on it yet. And it took us well over a year to even start being able to work on it, because we were just saving up all of our money, that even though we just spent a load of money that we didn't even have on this boat. And yeah, I remember it was just really hard work. Like, it was a lot of hard graft, and I didn't mind doing it. Like, it was fun. We did have a lot of fun doing it, but it was hard. Like, you'd had to carry the boards that we were doing that were like 7 foot boards. I think it was like 7 foot by 3 foot boards, and we had to carry them like over a mile to where we moored it from the car, because like the parking was obviously like you parked in a spot and then you had to walk to it because it's all on water, obviously. Um, and you know, even when we first got it, like charging the batteries, carrying these really heavy car batteries between us, like miles, it was hard. But we did it. And yeah, we managed to get some floorboards down, obviously, and we managed to redo the insides. We insulated it, and then we started putting up the cladding, and we stained it all, and it looked really nice. And then we started to build where the shower was going to be, like the bathroom area. I will insert pictures, or probably have been this whole time. And yeah, but we didn't get to finish it. Um, like I said, the only time I ever really got to ride in it, like for a journey, was driving it back, and it was really difficult. I couldn't drive it because it didn't have anything in it, so there was nothing weighing it down. Because you have to be so careful when you're designing your narrowboat. We did so much research on it, but you have to put bricks to level it out. So like, if you're having your bathroom on this side, you would have to have your living room on this side, or your bedroom on this side, and make sure that if your shower weighed a certain amount, that your bed did, and if it didn't, then you had to counteract it with bricks underneath the floors, or like, something heavy. So yeah, it took a lot of planning. I did a lot of design work for that, because my partner, I nearly said his name then, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but my partner at the time did not know how to design like the interior, so I helped out with that. Um, and yeah, it was just so difficult, like designing it all, and driving it without anything in it was a nightmare. It was like driving a soap dish on water. It was just bouncing the whole time. It was difficult, and it's a big thing. 52 foot. It's a big thing. And some of the corners were just ridiculous. I know that he got into a lot of trouble trying to get it back. Him and his friend. At one point, his friend nearly fell in because they were trying to maneuver it with a pole, because they just couldn't do it, like steering it. So his friend had to go to the other end and like push it with a pole, like a pole vault pole, just to get it to turn. It was a nightmare. I'm glad I wasn't there for that, because if I'd fallen in, it would have been devastating, because I can't swim. Um, like, why did I even think that owning a boat was a good idea when I can't swim? I'll never know. But yeah, and another funny story of us driving it back was we couldn't, there wasn't any like proper brakes. That I don't think there is on canal boats in general. Ours, if there are, then ours was just, it just didn't have them. You kind of just had to slow it down and then whack it into reverse, and that would kind of bring it to a somewhat of a stop, but it wasn't like a full stop. Do you know what I mean? So, and to moor it, someone had to jump off, and because it didn't have any like brakes, and I couldn't steer it, I was the one that had to jump off and tie it off. And he didn't tell me that until we nearly got there. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because it was literally like a Mission Impossible scene. It was ridiculous because obviously it was going quite fast and he didn't slow it down enough. Like there's only certain places where you can tie boats off. Otherwise, he would have had to go out and then turn around and then come back and then turn around and then go back to moor it. So I literally had to throw myself off like while it was moving. So I overjumped it because I was panicking that I was going to fall in the water, and then I had to quickly tie it off, and then that would just it would just pull it into a stop. It was a bit scary. And the second time when we actually got it to its actual destination, I had to jump off, and we went past the entrance to it because we weren't really too sure where we were going, because obviously you can't really use a sat nav for that because it's a riverway not a driveway. So we actually overshot it and we were like, oh no. So we had to moor it under this bridge, and unfortunately it wasn't just an easy jump off. I had to jump onto a fence. I'm only 5'5", so you can imagine and the fence came up to here. Oh, I just hit my mic. I'm so sorry. It came up to here on me, so I just literally had to throw myself onto it and then tie the boat onto it. It was stressful, and my first time going into a lock, because obviously you go into the lock, you shut the gates, and then the water either drops out or rises depending on which you need to do, because obviously some waterways are higher than others and some are lower. And yeah, going into my first one where it had lowered was a little bit scary because it was getting dark, and it's just this really rickety ladder that not many people use because hardly anyone travels by canal boat anymore. And you're just climbing into complete darkness down to a boat that is literally just moving continuously side to side in this water. So I was a little bit scared that I was going to slip and fall in. And yeah, this little old lady was like, you can do it, I've done it, you can do it. And I was like, oh great, well now I have to do it because this little old lady is like, I can do it. So I was like, oh no. It was funny, it was hilarious. I still don't know why I thought that this was a good idea. But yeah, we never got to finish it. It was just taking up all of our money, and it was a pipe dream, and I don't think he really thought it through, and it was very short lived. His dream just suddenly changed, as it would, because it was a midlife crisis thing, I think. And yeah, he kind of just lost interest in it, and he was more like the carpentry side of things for it, because obviously I can't do that kind of thing. I could design it, but I couldn't do some of the work. You had to show me how to do certain things, and so a lot of the DIY stuff was up to him, and obviously if he lost interest in it, it just meant we didn't do it, and I was working full time as well to support us. It was just not a good time, and we broke up anyway. And we were living in our own flat at that point, and I moved out and left him there for 2 months. We needed to sell it. We did manage to sell it. We sold it to this guy who actually lived in Scotland. And he had to pay a lot of money to get that boat lifted out. He did pay for the crane to come and lift it out and drive it all the way to Scotland. I was like, that's a lot of money. We didn't get as much money as what we paid for it. But at this point we'd broken up, so I was just like, we just need to sell it and get it gone, because it was just, I don't know, it was just hanging over our heads, and it was a lot of money. And yeah, I think I only ended up with $4,000 back out of that, and my loan was still for $3,000. So I didn't make any money. And actually the last grand that I got from it, I ended up giving to him because he was struggling to move to a new place, because I ended up homeless when we split up. I just moved out. I was like, no, I'm moving out. And I ended up moving back in with my mum in the end. But he wasn't finding it that easy, so he had to actually find a place. So I gave him an extra grand. So I literally made no money back from that. Literally nothing when we sold it. But yeah, there you go. I used to own a boat. That's the great story of how I used to own a boat. It just sounds funny whenever I drop it into a conversation with someone, because I always forget that it does kind of sound like this luxurious thing. It wasn't. It was just pipe dream that just didn't work out. It wasn't even my pipe dream. It was his. But yeah, I thought I'd do a video on it because it's kind of a funny story. Especially the fact that why did I buy a boat when I can't swim? Like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? So yeah, let me know if you liked it. Give it a thumbs up, and yeah, let me know if you guys have ever made any crazy life decisions or crazy purchases like that. I'd love to hear about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.